This is the most anticipated moment in all of life on the African savannah. The rain falls heavy, the sky closes in, and the land, hardened for months, finally begins to breathe again. Animals coated in mud move with urgency, newborns arrive beneath water spilling from the heavens, and the landscape transforms right before your eyes. In just a few days, what was dry regains color, sound, and motion. The rainy season doesn't bring only water, it brings life back. But it isn't always like this. For long stretches, the savannah remains empty, silent, and unpredictable. Drought can drag on for months without warning, delaying the rains and placing all life into a state of waiting. Rivers vanish, the ground splits open, and every animal survives on as little as possible, held together by instinct and memory. In that interval, rain stops being just a weather event and becomes the greatest hope of the entire savannah. In this documentary, we will follow how the arrival of the rainy season completely transforms the African landscape, renews the animals, triggers births, reorganizes predators and prey, and reveals the true grandeur of a cycle that does not save everyone, but ensures that life goes on. The African savannah runs on a fragile balance, sustained almost entirely by the timing of rainfall. Unlike tropical forests or temperate regions, there is no guaranteed regularity here. In many parts of sub-Saharan Africa, the rainy season can be delayed by weeks or even months, and in some years it can simply fail. Regions such as the Serengeti, the Sahel, and parts of East Africa depend on unstable climate systems like the Intertropical Convergence Zone, which does not position itself the same way every year. When that system shifts less than expected, the rain doesn't arrive where it should. These delays completely reshape the savannah's rhythm. A cycle that should last only a few months can stretch unpredictably, keeping the environment dry for far too long. The soil loses its ability to hold moisture, vegetation fails to regenerate, and the landscape enters a prolonged state of stress. For animals, this means living in suspension. Nothing advances, nothing renews. Everything simply holds on long enough not to collapse outright. This extreme dependence on the cycle affects every level of wildlife. Large herbivores like zebras and wildebeest need the rains to arrive within a specific window so that grasses sprout with proper nutritional value. When the rain is late, even if there is still visible grazing, it no longer supports the body. Animals keep eating, yet they keep losing weight. It's a silent deficit, hard to notice from a distance, but devastating over time. Elephants feel the impact even more directly. A single adult can consume over 150 litres of water per day, and during prolonged dry periods this need becomes a geographic limit. Herds start relying on only a few permanent water points, increasing crowding, environmental wear and conflict. When the rains are late, these movements become longer, more exhausting and more dangerous, especially for calves and older individuals. Predators are affected even before scarcity becomes extreme. Lions and leopards depend on rain indirectly because rainfall determines where prey can be found. When the cycle fails, prey spread less, weaken, and shift their movement patterns. This forces predators to spend more energy hunting, at a time when every effort must be calculated. A failed hunt during drought isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a real threat to survival. Even species highly adapted to aridity feel the strain of climate irregularity. The oryx, for example, can survive long periods without drinking, but it still depends on rain to bring back the plants from which it draws moisture. Meerkats and warthogs cope better than most, yet they also adjust their behavior, reducing daytime activity and spending more time in underground shelters. When the rains take too long, even the most resilient begin operating at the edge. The cruelest part is that nothing happens all at once. There is no sudden collapse. What builds instead is a stacking of delays. One extra month without rain, then another and another. Each delay shrinks the margin for error, shortens the time available, and removes alternatives. The savannah doesn't fall into crisis in a single moment. It wears down slowly. That's why rain is not seen merely as a weather event. It is a marker, a dividing line in time. In one way or another, every animal lives counting the days until it arrives. Instinctively, bodies, behaviors, and reproductive cycles are shaped by that expectation. When the rain fails, the whole system enters a holding pattern. When it arrives, everything moves at once. When drought stretches on, the savanna slips into a silent state of waiting. But that waiting is not passive. Even before the first drop touches the ground, something begins to shift. The environment still looks the same. The soil remains hard, the sky stays clear, but animals pick up signals that are not yet visible. For those who live here, the rainy season does not arrive suddenly. It announces itself long before it reveals itself. Some of the earliest responses come from the largest inhabitants of the savanna. Elephants, known for their memory and environmental sensitivity, can detect storms hundreds of kilometers away. Studies indicate they can perceive low-frequency sounds produced by large rain systems, subtle vibrations traveling through the ground and air. And their extremely keen sense of smell may detect slight changes in moisture carried by the wind. Before the sky even darkens, entire herds begin to move, shifting old routes and traveling toward regions where rain has not yet fallen. These movements are not random. They are critical decisions. Journeys of dozens, sometimes hundreds of kilometers, begin with a clear purpose. Reach the water before it spreads, and before others do the same. As the rainy season nears, time becomes valuable again. Arriving early means access to the first fresh grazing, newly formed pools, and a less crowded landscape. While elephants respond to rain across territories, other animals react even more quietly, inside their own bodies. In species like the impala, reproduction is deeply tied to the rhythm of the seasons. Females can delay embryo development through a process known as embryonic diapause. This allows births to occur only when environmental conditions are favorable, usually after the rains, when food is more abundant and the climate is less hostile. This fine adjustment doesn't come from awareness, but from generations of adaptation. A newborn born too early faces hunger, extreme heat, and predators at an advantage. A newborn born too late may arrive in an environment already saturated with competitors. Rain, therefore, not only determines when life begins, but also when it has a real chance to continue. Other species show early signals as well. Antelopes shift movement patterns. Birds begin returning to areas abandoned during the dry months. And insects emerge from the soil even before heavy rains, triggered by changes in temperature and humidity. The entire savanna enters a state of preparation. It is not the rebirth yet, but it is the warning that something is about to happen. The sky begins to gather slowly, as if the atmosphere itself is building strength. On the horizon, clouds appear first as distant patches, then draw closer and stack upon one another, rising and thickening until they erase the blue. The light changes before the water arrives. The sun, which has punished without mercy for months, now filters through a dark, uneven curtain, casting fast-moving shadows over the savannah. The wind changes too. It stops being only hot and dry and becomes persistent, cooler, heavier, carrying a scent that hasn't ruled the air in a long time, moisture approaching. It is a strange moment, because the landscape is still dry, still hard, still cracked, and yet it is no longer the same. Dust that once floated freely begins to settle. Brittle leaves are torn loose and dragged along the ground. Birds adjust their flight. Herds draw tighter together as if waiting for a final signal. Even the sounds seem to retreat for an instant, because the savannah recognizes the exact moment the climate turns. Then the first drop falls. It doesn't fall gently. It falls heavy, alone, like an impact. The first contact with the hot ground produces a small burst of damp dust, and within seconds, that spot darkens as if the earth is drinking with urgency. A few more drops follow, spaced out, almost uncertain. It's as though the sky is testing the ground, and the savannah for a brief moment hangs suspended. Neither drought nor rain, neither collapse nor rebirth, only expectation. But that hesitation doesn't last. The rain begins to thicken, and the sound transforms the entire world. The first steady drumming, growing, spreading, fills everything. Water strikes dried leaves, tree trunks, and the cracked surface of the ground, and every impact seems to wake something that has been dormant for months. The air cools, the temperature drops noticeably, dust disappears, the sky seals shut. Now it is no longer an announcement, it is the rainy season entering with authority. In that moment, many animals do not run. They stop. Some remain still for a few seconds, as if the body needs to understand what is happening. Others lower their heads, let the water hit their backs, and simply breathe. From the outside, it looks like reverence, and in a way, it is. Because rain is not a minor detail of the scenery. It is the turning point of the world. It is the event that reorganizes everything. A system that was squeezing life through lack of resources suddenly opens space. What was scarcity begins to become possibility. And then comes the part the camera loves, the physical transformation of the savannah. The ground that felt like stone begins to give. Darkened soil spreads in growing patches that connect, and the deep fissures begin to fill. Water searches for old pathways and finds them. Within minutes, thin streams appear like veins opening in the earth. Within hours, dry channels carry water again. Pools form in low spots. Natural trenches become temporary rivers. And the sound is no longer only rain. It is water in motion, draining, running, gathering, reclaiming the land. Most astonishing is how quickly the savanna responds. So fast it barely seems real. The green does not return slowly, it erupts. First come shy sprouts, almost invisible, dotting the brown with small living marks. Then, within days, grass rises and colour spreads as if the ground were being repainted. Trees that stood bare begin to regain leaves. Shrubs regain volume. The landscape gains texture, depth, and scent. The air, once harsh and hot, becomes cooler, heavier, filled with invisible life. Fungi, seeds, microorganisms, everything activated by water. The rainy season doesn't just wet the savanna, it switches the savanna back on. And as vegetation returns, the entire cycle returns with it. Herds that spent the dry months in constant search now have reason to settle. New grazing means energy. Energy means recovery, and recovery means reproduction. Rain opens the perfect window for births because food is plentiful, extreme heat eases, and the bodies of females can finally sustain new life without fighting hunger. The savanna, once seemingly empty, begins to fill again, and not only with animals, but with movement. Old roots reactivate. Territories are revisited. Abandoned areas are occupied once more. Water also brings back the rivers. And the rivers restore an ancient order. Places that were only dry riverbeds regain flow. Lakes and pools grow day by day, and all of this water draws life like a magnet. Herbivores return to drinking more often, now with less desperation and more regularity. Thirst stops being an absolute emergency and becomes routine. At last, the savanna has room to breathe. But this beauty comes with an unavoidable cost, because every drop that brings life also increases movement. And the more movement exists, the more encounters happen. The more encounters, the more conflict. The rainy season is not a happy ending. It is a restart. With more prey circulating and feeding, predators regain strength, return to patrolling, and begin testing boundaries. Tall vegetation creates cover, shadow, and ambush points. Mud slows speed in certain areas, leaves tracks, betrays movement, traps feet, and reshapes routes. Thousands of young are born, and as hopeful as that looks, it is also vulnerability on a massive scale. The savanna's rebirth means food and opportunity for everyone, including those who depend on death. And this is where the documentary crosses an important line. Because after the spectacle of rain, the savanna doesn't become only more beautiful. It becomes more intense, more active, more unpredictable. Life returns in full force, and risk returns with it, an inevitable shadow. The rain has done its part. The earth has answered. The green has returned. The rivers have filled. The savanna has been reborn. Now, the game begins. With the rainy season in place, the savanna doesn't merely turn greener, it becomes busier. Abundance makes room for life to grow, but it also creates an inevitable effect. The more prey appears, the more predators draw near. What used to be a landscape restrained by scarcity now becomes an open board, filled with routes, encounters, and opportunities. And on the savanna, opportunity is never neutral. It always means danger for someone. Births are the first major sign that the cycle has entered its most intense phase. In many herbivore species, the period after the rains coincides with a surge in births, precisely because new, nutrient-rich grass rapidly improves the female's body condition and increases the chances of lactation and the survival of young. For the viewer, it is the most beautiful moment. Trembling legs, eyes still learning to focus, small bodies trying to keep up with an entire herd that cannot stop. But this moment is also the most dangerous, because a newborn isn't born ready to run. It is born in the middle of the most competitive territory on Earth. And that is where the rainy season reveals its other face. Tall green grass which looks like protection can be a trap. Dense vegetation creates perfect hiding places for ambushes and reduces the prey's field of view, especially for species that rely on spotting predators at a distance. In the dry season, a lion can be seen far away against an open backdrop. In the rains, the savanna offers shadows, thickets, lines of tall grass, and uneven ground. The environment reborn now provides cover for those who hunt. Predators feel this shift immediately. After months of strain and limited opportunities, many regain energy quickly. Prey availability increases, search distances shrink, and time spent on long chases can be reduced, because ambush hunting becomes efficient again. In practice, the rain hands predators an ideal scenario. More prey, more predictable paths, and distractions everywhere. Newborns, mud, tall grass, slippery terrain. At the same time, the rain creates new physical obstacles that make escape harder. Waterlogged ground can trap feet, reduce acceleration, and turn a short sprint into a fight against the terrain. Mud drains energy. Riverbanks and pools become slick. Certain areas become impassable and force herds through specific passages, creating natural bottlenecks where dangerous encounters repeat. And as the savannah fills with water, it also fills with decision points. Drink now or wait. Cross here or search elsewhere. Stay where the grazing is best, or avoid high-risk ground. Water points that were fought over in desperation during the drought are now contested again through routine. And routine is exactly what predators and opportunists need. When a herd returns to the same place at the same hour, the savannah becomes a living clock. Trails form in the mud, tracks stack up, scents intensify, and what looks like a reborn paradise becomes an easy map for any experienced hunter to read. Meanwhile, within the herds, life reorganizes around protection. Females form tighter cores, newborns stay in the center, and vigilance increases. There is more food, yes, but attention doesn't drop. It rises. With so many newborns, the chance that a single mistake turns into tragedy becomes higher. A second of distraction, a tiny separation, tall grass blocking the view, and the newborn that was there is simply gone. Many successful hunts in the rainy season aren't about raw power, but about opportunity. Someone lagged behind, someone slipped, someone tired, someone was born in the wrong place. And it isn't only the great predators that benefit. The rainy season activates an entire chain of smaller competitors and opportunists. Insects multiply, drawing birds. Small carnivores and omnivores take advantage of remains left behind by incomplete kills. Even conflicts among predators can intensify, because with more prey available, more individuals risk staying in rich areas. And where food concentrates, dominance is contested. Rain doesn't eliminate competition. It amplifies it. The most important thing to understand is that the rainy season does not create paradise. It creates an explosion of life. And every explosion has impact. Every birth is a real chance and a potential target. Every larger herd means collective safety and greater visibility. Every green pasture means recovery and predators nearby. The savannah is reborn, but it is reborn at high speed, as if trying to recover in a few months everything that was lost during the drought. And when everything happens at once, risk multiplies too. Because here, the cycle isn't gentle. It's efficient. Rain returns food, returns water, returns strength, and with it returns the savannah's central rule. When life increases, death follows close behind. And in the middle of this renewed landscape, where green covers the ground and rivers run again, every animal is doing the same invisible math. How much time do I have? How much energy can I spend? And how long do I need to survive? Until the next cycle. Between drought and rain, between emptiness and abundance, between silent waiting and an explosion of life, everything here unfolds in cycles that ask no permission and offer no guarantees. When water disappears, the world tightens, time stretches, and survival becomes a daily exercise in endurance. When rain returns, The scene changes, green erupts, and life multiplies with a force that is almost impossible to contain. But none of these moments exists alone. Abundance only matters because it was preceded by scarcity. Rebirth is only grand because many did not make it to see it. Every victory carries the marks of earlier failures, and every failure feeds the next chapter of the cycle. On the Savannah, nothing is final. Not death, not abundance, not dominance. Rain does not come to save everyone. It comes to keep motion going. It returns energy to the bodies that endured, creates opportunity for those who knew how to wait, and imposes new challenges on those born at the right time, but in the wrong place. On the African Savannah, survival is not about defeating the environment. It is about accepting its rhythm. Because as long as there is drought and there is rain, there will be life trying, falling, and beginning again. If you enjoyed this documentary, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next episode.